Okay. If he did not write for her, sons that you will have from me, they will inherit the money of the ketubah above when they share with their brothers. He is nevertheless liable, since it is a condition established by. If he did not write, daughters that you will have from me shall live in my house and be supported from my property until they are married. He is nevertheless liable, since it is a condition established by the court. If he did not write, you shall live in my house and be supported from my property all the days of the duration of your widowhood in my house. He is nevertheless liable, since it is a condition established by the court. In this manner, the people of Yerushalayim used to write. The people of Galileo used to write like the people of Yerushalayim, and the people of Yehuda used to write until the heirs wished to give you your ketubah. Therefore, if the heirs so desired, they may give her a ketubah and dismiss her.
Okay. Right. Perek Hey. Af al pi she'amru besula gova masayim ve'almana maneh imra tzalahosif afilu mea maneh yosif. So the amount that we stipulated in the Kesubos of the 100 or 200 is that's a minimum that everyone has to put in. But if somebody is wealthy and they want to put in 10,000 zuz into the Kesubos, the kef, that's wonderful. Nis armela or nis garsha, and if the woman was widowed or divorced, bein mina erisin bein mina nesuin govaisa kol. So says the Tanakama, once she's received a Kesubos, even if it's right after the erisin, and they haven't even lived together, she now collects everything. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah omer min hanisuin govaisa kol mina erisin besula gova masayim ve'almana maneh shelo kasavla ela almanas lekonsa. Okay, says the Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, that extra amount is only effective once she actually goes to the chuppah. Because the only reason why he's giving her this extra money because he wants to live with her. He doesn't just want to give it to her stam as a gift. So the basic amount goes to the woman if she's only on arusa, and she only gets the basic amount, even if there's a preceptor that was added. Okay. But afterwards she collects whatever he stipulated in the Kesubos. Okay, and the halach actually follows Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah here that it's that she only gets the extra bit if they actually go to the chuppah. Now remember we had this little stira earlier. I think it was in Perek Gimel. When I was unsure about if the man gives his daughter in marriage, his underage daughter, and she was divorced, who gets the Kesubos? Of course there's a Kesubos. So I was doubtful as to whether or not she's entitled to a Kesubos at all if she was divorced from Erisin. So she still gets a Kesubos, and she's still living in her father's house, so her father gets the money. Right, so it's only when she only leaves her father's domain when she goes to the chuppah. Now that left the question of remember there was the knas. Who are the girls who get a knas? And we said that the knas we were looking at narash and nisarsa and nistasha. So look at the Kesubos Gimel Gimel. So this is the curious case over here, is that she went in Erisin and then she was divorced. So she's still a basula and she's still entitled to a knas. Now Rabbi Yossi Agedi says she doesn't have a knas, and so Rabbi Akiva says she has a knas and she keeps the knas. Now, my question is, if she's still in her father's domain, why doesn't her father get the knas then? That's the interesting thing. So, knas l'Atzma lo lavi yashikein dor Rabbi Akiva se knas v'asher lo rasa. Okay, what is from Rabbi Akiva? There's no knas. Okay. Right, so I'm going to have to do some research about this because this seems like a stira, as to why is it that the knas would go to her as opposed to her father, seeing as she is still in her father's, she is still in her father's domain. So that's a kasha that I've got over there. I'll have to dig
It
into.
says Rabbi Akiva's view is that since her body has not changed in any way, she's still a nara and a virgin. The implication of the verse cannot be deprive her of the fine.
Okay. So
And
why doesn't the fine go to the father like it would with any other girl?
Let me say, the Torah's intention is that once she's betrothed, the fine does not belong to the father, as is usually the case, but to the maiden herself. Accordingly, Mishna Aleph, which states that one who violates his brother's wife or his father's brother's wife after her betrothal and divorce, as explained, is liable to the fine, must follow Rabbi Akiva's view. Since the verse deals exclusively with the fine, we can deduce that the other payments that a violator must pay, disgrace and impairment, are awarded to the father, even if she had been betrothed. And it says this will be discussed further in Mishnayos Daled and Hay.
So Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Yossi Agili there are Deus Yachid, because the Chachamim say that the father really does get the knas.
So
is that what your commentary is saying? I'm asking you. Did your commentary say that the Chachamim said that the father gets the knas? What was the last sentence you read there?
The last sentence was, let me go back here. Gimel. Gimel. It said, the last part was, since the verse deals exclusively with the fine, we can deduce that the other payments that a violator must pay, disgrace and impairment, are awarded to the father, even if she had been betrothed.
The other payments. So the knas specifically goes to her, but the other payments go to her father.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
The other payments that a violator must pay, disgrace and impairment, are awarded to the father.
Interesting. Okay.
It said this will be discussed further in Mishna 4 and 6. So maybe it's still there.
In the same parak, in Gimel Daled.
I think so. It didn't change the parak, but it just said 4 and 6.
That's fine. I understand. Fun, but that's about the other payments. Yeah. Okay. So let's leave that and come back
Okay.
to our Mishnah. All right. So then we've said Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah's opinion. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Im Ratza Kosev Livsula Shtar Shel Masayim V'hi Koseves Hiskavalti Machmaneh. So Rabbi Yehuda is coming up with a trick that if the husband doesn't really want to give a 200 zuz in the Kesubos, and like she's a bit of a nebuch case, and he's kind of just agreeing to take her on because he's being pressured to. He says, I'm not writing out 200 zuz for the floor. I'm sorry. So what Rabbi Yehuda says, okay, he has a shtick for you. Get her to write out the Kesubos with 200, and let her give you a receipt for 100. Right, to say that she's already received 100, even though she hasn't. A person's allowed to be modest. You're allowed to admit to a monetary liability and say, okay, fine, I've received it. I've already received in advance 100 shekels of it. In which case, his liability is reduced to only 100 shekels.
100 shekel, right?
Okay. So he considers it and let him. If it's an almana and he wants to do only half price for her, then she can write him a receipt for 50 zuz. Rabbi Meir Omer kol hapoches lebesula mimasayim l'almana mimaneh harezo v'lasnos. Rabbi Meir is not impressed with Rabbi Yehuda's shtick over here. He says if you put a trick like that, it's basically it basically invalidates the marriage. This is be'ilas znus that he's coming and living with her. And actually, the halacha follows Rabbi Meir that you cannot pull any kind of shtick to reduce the husband's liability in the Kesubos. Okay. So the tradition in the times of the Mishnah, as we said before, is to wait a year in between Erusin and Nisuin. Now, this Mishnah tells us why, right? That the husband has the Tabaa means that it means that he's actually it's the same word as summoning somebody in Beis Din, subpoena, right? But that's not obviously what it means. What it means is he's saying, I want you to marry me. So, and she says, yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. So she accepts the Kesef Kiddushin, and she goes back to her father's house. Now, so we give this girl 12 months. The finances, that's fine. She is under her father's responsibility still. He still feeds her, and she can prepare herself and to find the right perfumes and the right dress and whatever. She's got 12 months to get ready for the chuppah. And the same thing for the man. He also gets 12 months to prepare himself, to save up money for the wedding, to get himself a nice suit and whatever else he needs. When it comes to an almana, however, the time is only 30 days. Now, what happens if it comes to the time that they're meant to get married, and for whatever reason they have not gotten married? Okay, so now the woman says, this is actually going to look at the interesting edge case where the wife is a Bas Yisrael and the husband is a Kohen. Because technically speaking, as soon as he puts the ring on her finger, for that entire year while she's waiting, she's an Ashes Kohen. She's allowed to eat truma. But we don't let her eat truma. Why don't we let her eat truma? We've come across this before. If you were a Chazal, why would you say that this woman shouldn't eat truma while she's waiting?
I would think maybe they wouldn't be it. Maybe they wouldn't get married. He would die. That's what I'm thinking.
That's very good. That's one of the reasons given. Is close to that. Is that maybe the husband will have charata, and he'll decide that this was a bad shidduch, and he'll decide not to go through with the marriage. And now she's retroactively, it turns out that she was eating truma v'isa. The other thing is that she's living in her father's house with her Yisrael father, her Yisrael brothers and mother and whatever, and she's sitting there eating truma. So now
they can't eat truma.
They're not allowed to eat truma. And what if accidentally one of them eats the truma? So that's another reason why she shouldn't eat the truma during that time. However, now comes a bit of everyone agrees that she shouldn't eat truma during that stage. However, after the 12 months, she now becomes her husband's liability. Up until now, for 12 months, she has to eat from her father. Now, if the groom has not come to the party after 12 months, then the father can say to him, "Listen, you married her panas is on you now. Mm-hmm. You should. This is your responsibility." So now says the time she can eat from. She can eat from her husband, and she can eat the truma that he gives her. Now, how's he going to manage that? So why does that overcome the objections that we had before? So if it's after 12 months, first of all, it's not a common occurrence. And what she can do is if she can go and eat the truma somewhere away from her family. So when he sends her the truma, she can go and eat somewhere else and make sure that it doesn't come from her brother, goes in front of her brothers or father. And if it's a question of him having charata, well, now it's 12 months. If he's going to have charata, he's going to have charata by this stage. He's not going to have charata. Okay. Rabbi Tarfon Omer nosni laha kol truma. Rabbi Tarfon says he could, if he wants, he can feed her 100% truma. Now this is a bit of a wrap deal. Why? Because she's a woman, and 2 out of 4 weeks she's in niddah. Okay, which means that she's not allowed to eat truma while she's in niddah.
Right.
Okay, so that's a rough deal. So Rabbi Tarfon says, okay, so during the weeks when she can't eat truma, let her sell the truma, and then she can buy chulin with that, which of course is going to get less. She's going to get less chulin for that, but Rabbi Tarfon is cool with that. He says it's not the husband's problem when she's in niddah and when she's not. He says no. He's got to be fair about this. During the times when she's tameh, then then he has to feed her chulin. Okay. Mishna Gimel. Yavam eino mafil b'truma. All right, so this is a situation where, again, you've got a Bas Yisrael married to a Kohen from Erisin, and the husband dies. So now this woman is fallen for Yibum, and the brother is also a Kohen, obviously. So so now the question is this woman allowed to eat truma? And the answer is no, because there's a limit. It says that why is a woman, a Bas Yisrael who's married to a Kohen, allowed to eat truma? The reason is because of the pasuk. It says kinyan kaspo. It's got to be Kohen ki yikneh nefesh kinyan kaspo hu yochal bo. So that applies to an Eved and it applies to a woman, because a woman that he acquires with kiddushin, that's kesef, right? So he has acquired this woman with kesef, and she's part of his household, and she's allowed to eat truma. The Yavam hasn't done that. He doesn't have that qualification. So now that this woman is attached to the Yavam because of a zika the Yibum, that is not enough to permit her to eat truma. Okay. And the Mishnah goes on to clarify, it doesn't matter. If it's whether it's 6 months under her husband and 6 months under the Yavam, or if it is entirely in front of, she was married to the husband for 364 days, then he died the day before the wedding, and now she's in front of the Yavam. Or the husband died the day after he did Erisin, and the Yavam waited a year. And as a matter of fact, we'll add on to this the case where even if the husband delayed, so it was 360 days, it was 400 days that she was under the husband, and she was already eating truma from him, and then he died. She immediately has to stop eating truma because she's no longer married to a Kohen. She now has a zikah for Yibum to a Kohen, but she can't eat truma.
You're not married to there's someone who's going to take is going to do a yavam with her, right? So would that be one of the brothers?
She's waiting for him to do yibum with her, but she's not married to him.
Because she's not married, she can't eat the truma.
That's correct.
But once he does
yibum, then she's his wife.
Right.
Then she's his wife, and she's a
she goes back to truma.
So in that period in between her husband's death and the yibum, she's not allowed to eat truma. But while she's married to her husband and while she's married to the yavam, she's allowed to eat truma. Okay. So Zon Mishna Rishona. So everything that we've learned up until now about the wife being allowed to eat truma after 12 months, this is called Mishna Rishona. Okay, that was the original psak. However, based in Shel Achrehen Amru Ein Haisha Ocheles B'Truma Ad Shetikanes Lechuppah. They said they came back and said, forget about this thing after 12 months that she's allowed to eat truma. No truma for the woman until she goes to the chuppah. Period. Doesn't matter how long he took. The later based in decided that this idea of allowing her to eat truma is too much of a mifshal. It's too complicated. She must eat chulin until she goes to the chuppah. Period. Doesn't matter what. Okay.
Hey.
Great. Let's go back to base face.
Base case. Maybe Yehuda says we do not raise one to the kahuna by the testimony of one witness. Said Reb Elazar, when there are contestants. But if there were no contestants, we raise one to the kahuna by the testimony of one witness. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel says in the name of Rabbi Shimon Sigan that we raise one to the kahuna by the testimony of one witness. We always needed two witnesses, but there were some places where, when we're talking about he died, I saw him die, and that was one witness.
Was to permit a woman to remarry.
Right, but it was only one witness, but then sometimes we needed two witnesses. So
You needed the two witnesses if you had two witnesses. If you had two witnesses, or if there was one witness saying that, no, I've seen him alive. So then you'd need two witnesses to cancel out the one witness who says, I've seen him alive.
A woman who is imprisoned by Gentiles, if because of money, is permitted to her husband. But if it was for the purpose of taking her life, she is prohibited to her husband. A city that was conquered by besieging troops, all Kohanim wives found therein are unfit. But if they are witnesses, even a slave, even a maidservant, these are believed. A person is not believed about himself, said Reb Zechariah ben Hakatezev, that by this temple, her hand did not move out of my hand from the time the Gentiles entered Jerusalem until they left. And they said to him, a person cannot testify for himself. Right.
One more.
And in these cases, people are believed to testify when they are of age about what they saw when they were minors. A person is believed to say, this is my father's handwriting, and this is my teacher's handwriting, and this is my brother's handwriting. I remember so-and-so, and she went out with a veil and with her hair untied, and that so-and-so went out of school to immerse himself in order to eat truma, and that he shared with us on the threshing floor, and that this is a beis hapas. And until here we used to go on the Shabbos. But a person is not believed to say so-and-so had a right of way in this place, so-and-so had a stopping spot and an eulogizing spot in this place.
Okay. Llevamos Ches Aleph.
The uncircumcised are all of those who are tamei, but may not eat truma. But their wives and slaves may eat truma. One with mutilated testicles and one who has a phallus that was severed, and they and their slaves may eat, but their wives may not eat. However, if he did not cohabitate with her after his testicles were mutilated or his phallus was severed, she may eat. Who is considered someone with mutilated testicles? Anyone whose testicles were cut, even if only one of them. And who is considered a person whose phallus was severed? Anyone whose phallus was cut off. However, if even a hairbreadth of the corona remained, he's fit. Persons with mutilated testicles or a severed phallus are permitted to marry a convert or an emancipated slave woman. They are forbidden only to enter into the congregation. The pasuk says a person with mutilated testicles or a severed phallus may not enter the congregation of God. The Ammonite and the Moabite are prohibited from marrying into the congregation, and their prohibition is perpetual. However, their women are permitted immediately. An Egyptian and Edomite are prohibited from marrying into the congregation only until 3 generations, both male and females. Reb Shimon permits the females immediately. Reb Shimon says this matter is subject to for Torah reasoning. For if in this case, when the males were prohibited perpetually, the females were permitted immediately, then how much more so in the case where the males were prohibited only until 3 generations, but the females should be permitted immediately? They replied to him, if this is a precept handed down, we will accept it. But if it is a ruling, there is a rebuttal to it. He said to them, not so. What I say is a precept. Mazarim and Nessanites are prohibited from marrying into the congregation, and their prohibition is perpetual, both male and female. Okay.
Good.
If a non-Jewish slave, a woman, a minor, recited Hallel for someone, he must repeat after them whatever they say and let it be cursed upon him. If an adult was reciting for him, he must respond after him, Hallelujah. In a place where they are accustomed to repeat, he repeats. Where the custom is to recite as is, he recites it is. Where the custom is to recite a blessing after it, he recites a blessing after it. Everything must be done in accord with the local custom. If one purchases a lulav from his friend during Shemitah, he must give him the esrog as a gift, because it is forbidden to purchase it during Shemitah. Originally, the lulav was taken to the temple 7 days, and in the provinces it was taken 1 day. After the temple was destroyed, Rabbanan Yochanan ben Zakkai instituted the lulav be taken in the provinces 7 days in remembrance of the temple, and that the entire day of waving be forbidden. Okay, true. Okay. I'm sorry? fine grapes, no, figs, grapes, cucumbers, gourds, melons, and muskmelons that have been gnawed, even if there's much as a kikar, whether large or small, whether detached or attached, if they contain moisture, they are forbidden. Bitten by a snake, it is forbidden because of the danger to life. A vine strainer is forbidden because it is uncovered, but Nehemiah permits this. If a doubt of uncleanness arose among a jar of truma, Reb Eliezer says that it was lying in an exposed place, he should put it in a hidden place. And if it was uncovered, he should cover it. But Rabbi Yeshua says, if it is lay in a hidden place, he should put it in an exposed place. And if it was covered, he should uncover it. Rabbi Gamliel says, let him do nothing new about it. Okay. And
What else? It's valid.
In what case does this apply? When the hive is a utensil. If the hive was broken and stuffed with straw, if it contains 40 saw, according to the sages, and there is tumor below, inside, or above the hive, tumor penetrates upward and downward. If Reb Eliezer and Reb Shimon say tumor does not enter the hive and it does not descend from it, if the hive is a handbreadth above the ground and there is tumor underneath it, what is ever underneath it becomes tamei, and if the tumor is inside or above, the utensils directly above, the tumor up to the sky becomes tamei. A crypt that is wide at the bottom and narrow at the top contains a corpse. Someone who touches the lower part remains tahor, where someone who touches the upper part becomes tamei. If the crypt is wide at the top and narrow at the bottom, someone who touches any part becomes tamei. From top to bottom, someone who touches any part becomes tamei, and these are the words of Rebbe Eliezer. Rabbi Yeshua says, someone who touches from a handbreadth and below remains tahor, and from a handbreadth and above becomes tamei. If the crypt is similar to a chest, someone who touches anywhere on the sides becomes tamei, and if it is made like a glucose, someone who touches it anywhere remains tahor, except in the place where it opens. Where are we going after?
One more in Ohalas?
I leave one out?
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, sorry. If a barrel is outdoors, resting on its bottom, and an olive-sized piece of corpse is either underneath or inside the barrel on its bottom, tumor penetrates upward and downward, and the barrel becomes tamei. If the tumor is outside the barrel but underneath its side, tumor penetrates upward and downward, and the barrel remains tahor. When the tumor is inside the barrel and underneath its side, if there is a cubed handbreadth inside the sides of the barrel, everything remains tahor. However, if there's less than a cubed handbreadth, tumor penetrates upward and downward. In what cases is supply? When the barrel is tahor. If it is tamei, our handbreadth above ground, covered or upside down, and there is tumor below, inside, or above the barrel, everything becomes tamei. And where do we go now? Say that.
Volume 2, I guess, because we're not finished.
I do have a volume 2. I didn't realize that. Okay. Idios.
Yeah.
Yes. Menachem ben Signai testified concerning the supplement of the cauldron of olive boilers that is capable of becoming tamei, while that of dryers is tahor, because they used to say that the reverse is true. Reb Nehemiah ben Good Gidda testified concerning a deaf-mute girl whose father gave her in marriage and that she may be divorced with a get. He also testified concerning a minor, the daughter of Yisrael who married a Kohen, that she may eat truma, and if he dies, her husband inherits. If he testified concerning a stolen beam that a thief built into a mansion, that he give it its value. If he testified concerning a stolen katas offering unbeknown to the public, that it atones for the benefit of the altar.
Otherwise, not 50, it's and he.
And.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
And. Rabbi Yeshua ben Betzera testified concerning the blood of the nevelas, that it's tahor. Rabbi Shimon ben Betzera testified concerning the ash of the katos, that if a tamei touched part of it, it has been all of it tamei. Rabbi Akiva added regarding the fine flour of mincha offerings, the incense used for the twice daily incense offerings of the temple, the frankincense used in various mincha offerings, and the coals of the altar, that if a tevel yom touched part of them, he has rendered the whole part unfit.
All right, that's it.
All right. Good.
And
Have a great day for yourself.
you too.
Mr. Shem, I will speak to you tomorrow.
It's a shame. Bye.